Hello everyone, welcome to LEGO Rewind, where we take another look at older tired LEGO themes. And I am not a sports guy. I wasn't even going to cover this theme originally, but I like to cover themes that marked some historic change for LEGO, the beginning of a trend that would change the face of LEGO in some way. And sports has left its own unique mark, so I can make time for this. We've touched upon several of LEGO's attempts to branch into new markets, but 2000 Sports was one of the more unique ones as far as system goes. The first few years focused on football, or soccer to us Yanks, with a mix of minifigs that weren't based on any real players yet, more of an assortment of faces picked from other lines of the time. The LEGO did make deals to feature real-world brands on the sets, along with their own in-universe ones. The closest you'd get to normal sets were vans that could carry several players each, or stands for the crowd, but everything else was essentially foosball, only a little trickier, with minifigs mounted on springy stands, some permanently, which clip onto plates with a dip for the ball to fall in. Simply lean the player back, release, and they'd snap down, pinching the ball to kick it. The smaller sets would feature one part of a larger setup, the goal, a few of those plates, the idea being to collect multiples so that in time you could piece together your own field, though there were still examples of an entire field contained in one box. The only thing I dislike about the box art is how little space is dedicated to the actual set. It's just pushed into the bottom corner a lot of the time. I've never seen any other line treated this way, and it unfortunately became a trend that stuck for some time. But hey, at least you get an actual soccer ball with some of these. Not fully sized, but still. Thanks to these, the plates and launchers, and way more minifigs than on average, these were not the best priced apart-wise. But there's more to a LEGO set than piece count. You gotta consider the play value, the sheer volume of stuff. This is what makes sets with a low parts count and low playability particularly egregious. Sports was alright that way. There is a lot at play with these sets. I usually note how many sets a theme has, but I'm not even gonna bother this time. There is an absurd amount of sports sets, but that number is inflated by duplicates tweaked for different countries and a ton of minifigs you could buy individually. Just know that it was a pretty expensive line on a good year, but if you think that's something, you won't believe how many things were introduced in 2003. Where do I start? Well, this is when they first used the actual word sports on the box. I have to admit, the old logo was more charming and got the point across just fine. I think they could have made different versions to suit the other sports featured next. There was the Gravity Games sub-theme, which focused on skateboarding and snowboarding. Lots of smooth, studless surfaces to ride and grind on. I actually like these quite a bit for introducing so much terrain. I just find it more dynamic, even without springs and whatnot. Then there was hockey, which made use of a kind of lever previously only utilized for soccer goalies, now for all players, like the minifig itself is the end of a hockey stick. Pretty clever way to set it apart, I must say, though people mostly remember this sub-theme for its larger, more Bionicle-esque figures, which had a swinging mechanism and removable masks, Matoran face underneath and all. Gosh dang, these are weird, but it's hard not to like them a little bit. I do like them at least having different shoulder pads and the like, though I never got any of them. But what people remember this era for the most is basketball. These are kinda like the soccer sets, but where those were normal minifigs simply mounted on a gimmicky device, these were specialized minifigs with springy legs and differently shaped arms made for grasping the ball. The idea this time was to pick up the ball and fling it away. So it's the same as soccer, but with an extra step thrown in. The faces grew more detailed and stylized, but something was still missing. Up until now, basically all minifigs from sports to Star Wars had that classic yellow tone. And even faces that were drawn with more diverse features still shared that all-encompassing pigment. That changed overnight, and I remember it being such a huge deal. Sports promoted this new direction the most, representing many real-life NBA players. I wasn't sure how to feel at the time. What made this change kind of awkward was how these faces were drawn. There's a reason minifigs generally have dotted eyes to this day. Most of the times they attempted these more realistic ones with the entire eye drawn creeped a lot of people out, so they just don't do it anymore. I think Exoforce was the only line to pull this off without dipping into the uncanny valley. They also had big exaggerated lips, something else they don't do anymore. Take a look at Shaquille O'Neal in the LEGO Movie, voiced by the real guy.
Oh no, they were ready for that.
Not only does he have the more flexible, springless minifig body, but the eyes and mouth are more like you'd expect in the classic minifig art style. It's less of a caricature, more normalizing, and that's important. I think some people have compounded 2003's weirdly drawn faces with the introduction of proper skin tones in their minds, turning them off. I personally like the new range of colors, but I guess it's kind of understandable if people don't want LEGO to be realistic, if they'd rather Star Wars and Harry Potter go back to being yellow. And I guess that's why LEGO's more original themes still paint everybody with that abstract brush regardless of implied race, and even the ones that are more realistic don't draw minority characters in basically an entire different art style. It was still a momentous change that altered the face of LEGO forever, and I think it had to happen sooner or later. I'm just imagining how many kids and adults are happy to see themselves in these minifigs. As exciting as this time was for LEGO Sports, it would fizzle out soon after. 2006 only saw 3 sets, and the focus was back to football, and these are nice enough, but it was a short-lived revival. There's only so many ways you can arrange those green plates plates before you're copying and pasting the same sets from half a decade ago. And like many themes that died with a whimper, 2007 only saw one release, Superstar Figure, a goalie featuring huge gloves and an extra force hairpiece. Like I said, I am not a sports guy, but I do think it was commendable of LEGO to take these concepts as far as they did and make a game out of it, and not just give them a LEGO coat of paint. The thing to keep in mind is how desperate LEGO was to infiltrate new markets when sports began. It was one of the many things it threw at that wall, hoping it would stick, basically telling kids, we'll make whatever you want, it doesn't matter what it is, we'll give you anything you're interested in, just buy something please. And like many of those concepts, sports could only last so long as LEGO became more financially stable and didn't need things like sports or Bionicle or however many other themes died out. But they kept it going for the better part of a decade, which is more than most themes get, and I can appreciate it for pulling off as many of these wild new concepts as it did with some measure of tact. It'd be neat to see some new sports sets under that all-encompassing city banner. I think its fans have waited long enough and it's worth testing with new kids. There's gotta be some kind of market for it. That's all I've got for today. If you want to support my work, please consider my graphic novels, available on Kindle and print. If you're short on money, you can read an older draft of the first volume for free, and get a feel for it. Links in the description. Also, please share this video or any other episodes covering lines that meant something to you. Next up, trades.
Now playing on LEGO Sports, the NBA All-Star Game. It's the real deal, Bob. Here, got that right, Rick. Wow, great steal. He tries a long shot. Is it? Yes! Oh, net! That puts on a little razzle-dazzle. Oh, just look at him move. Straight. You like that one, Rick? I know I did, Bob. Want to play?